Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder and chief editor at Healthcare IT Today. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in health IT. And we're here in Israel with our guest, Yossi Bahagon. He's the chairman of Sweetch. Welcome, Yossi.
Welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so excited to learn about your technology. Before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and Sweetch.
So, a bit about myself. I'm a family physician. I'm still practicing. I'm still telling patients to open their mouth and take a deep breath. But most of my career was around digital health. I was privileged to lead the digitalization of the largest healthcare organization in Israel called Clalit, which is actually the second largest in the world.
Wow.
This system is used there today for millions of patients, for tens of millions of interactions on a monthly basis. After I ended my corporate governmental role, I moved to the more entrepreneurial world, and I was part of the founding team of several successful digital health companies. My first company was acquired about 5 years ago, following which I founded a venture capital fund that invests in digital health solutions. And recently, because I really missed the entrepreneurial world, I came back to be operational here at Sweetch, which is a company I was part of the founding team and served as a chairman for the last 2 years. I also sit on the advisory board of Best Buy Health and several pharma companies, and I'm a special advisor for the World Health Organization on digital health. Excellent. So digital health is not only what I do for a living, it's my passion, it's my life mission.
That's awesome. Well, you all work in the diabetes, the weight management space. Talk about your approach to addressing this really challenging problem.
So I will start with connecting this to my professional background. Along the years, most of the work that I've done was around patient centricity. The term I prefer is participatory health, meaning
Nice.
How do you build systems that empower patients to be better partners in managing their care. So to give these patients who are coping with chronic diseases the gentle yet effective assistance to live their life to its fullest within the limitations of having a chronic condition. Sometimes we call it an approach of feel like a person, not like a patient.
Yeah, I like that. How are you different then? There's a lot of people working on diabetes, right? Weight management's been an issue forever. How is Sweetch different than some of these other approaches?
So I would mention a few points. One is the holistic approach.
Okay.
Meaning we aspire to look at the patient's life as a whole. Meaning these people, like us, we have, beside a chronic disease to manage, we have a life to manage, and this is composed of many things. So the uniqueness of Sweetch, we combine advanced data science with behavioral science in order to increase the likelihood of a patient doing what he or she needs to do. Meaning, practically, instead of, for example, telling a patient, hey Rob, you've walked 4,000 steps today and you have 6,000 steps more to go.
Right.
The type of messages that Sweetch sends is, hey Rob, you have 45 minutes before your next meeting. It's raining outside, so maybe go pick up an umbrella and go pick up an Americano from the nearest Starbucks. It's only 9 minutes away, and this will get you to achieve your 15-minute activity goal. So everything in this hyper-personalized message was created automatically based on understanding Rob's, what we call life print, meaning when do you wake up on Mondays? When do you go to sleep on Tuesdays? How far is your work from home? What are your favorite coffee shops? And we learn these life habits, or the way we like to call it, life print of the individual, by collecting data from the user's smartphone and other connected devices and making sense out of it. So understanding where is home, where is work, and so on. and then to be able to touch the patient gently at the right time, with the right message, at the right context, with the right tone of voice, but moreover, learn from the patient's, from the user's real-world behavior, which message worked and which message were ignored. And then our reinforcement learning algorithms ongoingly optimize the message that each individual gets in order to increase the likelihood that indeed you will do what you are supposed to do on both the more wellness side of things, like physical activity, weight loss management, and so on, and also on the more clinical hardcore side of things, like reported outcomes, medication adherence, and so on. So the other aspect of that is the holistic approach.
Okay.
When you look at the patient, look at the person's life, and not only on the specific mission that you want this user to achieve. Hey, take your medication. And secondly, look at comorbidities, meaning a large percentage of diabetic patients also suffer from hypertension. So, and a large proportion also suffer from cardiovascular diseases or obesity. So you don't want these users to download one app for hypertension and one app for diabetes, and so
an app for you, an app for you.
Yeah, exactly. So look at the person's life in a holistic way.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially the personalization to their own preferences. I think that's a challenging problem to address, though, right?
It's a very challenging problem on both aspects. One, humans' behavior is challenging.
Humans are challenging.
Yeah, humans are
that's
challenging.
True.
And it's not always, correlative with what we know we should do, because life is complicated.
Yeah.
And it's complicated from the data science perspective, because we need to turn all these data points into a certain context. What does it mean now? Is the patient at home? Is the patient at work? Is the patient walking? Is the patient commuting? Is the patient nearby a place where he or she usually hangs around? So a lot of insights to learn from raw data. So to turn essentially raw data into actionable insights.
Yeah.
And that's indeed the challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you offered the coffee to me, I don't drink coffee, so that's bad, right? It doesn't work.
Exactly. So if this message was sent to you and you would ignore it, one time, 2 times, 3 times, the app AI infrastructure would learn that this message doesn't work on you.
Right.
And it would either tweak it or stop showing it.
Sure.
Because this is the entire idea. We all get these endless nudges and we ignore them.
Yep.
And if you get such a nudge that you ignore time after time, it doesn't encourage you to do things differently. On the contrary, it just creates the frustration. So with Sweetch, it's about optimizing the individual nudges based on your real-world behavior. This approach is called JITAI, or just-in-time adaptive intervention.
Okay.
So every time the system is about to send you a message, it looks at 2 things. One, what is your current context? Meaning, if you are driving, sending you now a message that it's very important that you would walk today, or it's very important that you would take your medication, it's not helpful. So to find the right context where it will be more likely for you to do what you need to do. And second, it looks at your past behaviors. How did you respond to a similar message in a similar context in the past? If you ongoingly don't respond to it, waive the recommendation, don't send it, because it won't work.
Right.
So you need to find other ways to activate this patient.
Yeah. Well, if your AI is listening, I like pizza and ice cream. No, so talk about who is the customer for this? Who are you selling this to? How are you approaching that from a customer standpoint?
Yeah. So currently, our customers are mainly pharma companies and medical device companies.
Interesting. Okay.
Which look at, at these two objectives of one, how to bring true value to their customers, and secondly, at the same time, hit their business KPIs. And these, if you find the right balance, you can create a win-win between these two objectives of improving people's life and health. And through that, I would even say, through thinking about the patient's health journey and what is important for the patient, and how do you support the patient in achieving these outcomes, through that, hit also your business KPIs. That being said, we've ongoingly being approached by other players in the healthcare system, like providers and payers, and we have initial discussions with these. I believe that will mature in the upcoming year.
Interesting. And so it's interesting, you're trying to do the holistic approach, but the pharma probably has a KPI of, I want to drive more compliance with the medication and usage of the medication. The med device wants to make sure their device is being used. Is that how you kind of see it, or is it more complex than that?
You're right, meaning these are the business KPIs.
Right.
But I think companies, at least companies that we work today with some of the biggest names in the industry, sees a broader view, meaning they also understand that hitting their KPIs goes through higher patient satisfaction, improved patient experience, not only on the medication or the use of the medical device itself, but looking at the patients, at what the patient values and what the patient needs assistance with on a broader view.
Fascinating. Well, this has been really interesting to hear about what you're doing and how you're approaching really a challenging problem that I think so many people are trying to solve. Where can people go to learn more about your organization?
So obviously in our website, which is www.sweetch.com.
Yeah.
And by the way, the word Sweetch.
Yeah. Where does that come from?
So
with
the word
double E?
Sweetch comes, the double E. It's a good one. So it came from, we are switching sweet people. So we are helping them, as I said, live their life to the fullest. And the double E also has like a symbolic meaning, which goes deep into what we aspire to do. So we all know that life is a roller coaster.
Yes.
And when you manage a chronic disease, you need to take that into account. Like when we serve people that suffer from chronic diseases, we need to take into account that we are not robots, and managing chronic disease is quite a roller coaster. And keeping that in mind when it comes to behavior, to initiating or maintaining a behavioral change is very important. Meaning sometimes the right thing to do, and the app learns it, is to take a step back and not nudge.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate you sharing some insights and perspectives into really a challenging subject. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare IT content like this, be sure to check it out at healthcareittoday.com or search for Healthcare IT Today on your favorite podcasting application. Thanks.
Thank you.